Now I'm at the point you wanna be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be, it's when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
At the end of the day, man, we've got to condition ourselves to make the right choices and give us the power over the external circumstances instead of the external circumstances having power over us.
And once you do that, you start to figure out, hey, I can do this, and maybe I can do this, and then your self-esteem grows.
The truth is, change can be hard, growth can be scary, but nothing is as hard and scary as being stuck somewhere you don't belong.
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
Growth doesn't come by talking a lot. Growth comes by listening, by learning, by being curious.
You'll upgrade your knowledge, your skills, your habits, and you'll upgrade your beliefs so that you believe that you can do this.
You will succeed. You just have to believe in yourself and never stop trying.
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields.
The most important thing is really to work on yourself. It all starts and work on your mind.
And I said, if you can get 1% better every day, by the end of the month, you have 33%. Tell me a business you can earn 33% a month. So it's a great investment.
I'm not attached to my career, my notoriety, my financial success. I'm not attached to it. I have no self-worth tied up in Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur. My self-worth is fully and utterly 100% attached to how I treat human beings.
Issue where you save time is that if you really know your why, right, then why are you doing it? Are you doing a career because your parents said that's what success is?
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours.
To train on the power of presence. Our presence sets the tone, and the tone sets the outcome. What we do say, think, feel, and believe is the frequency, is the tone, separated by the spaces between the tones, the notes, is what creates the music. Rooms don't respond to titles or accolades. They respond to energy. They respond to clarity. They respond to service. Our intention of what we do say, think, feel, and believe today is to learn how to command, to work with, not demand, but command a room, not through our ego, edging goodness and God and gold out of our lives, but through the clarity and harmony, the confidence and the compassionate competence that comes through the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential. By the end of this training, which I will make all the exercises and guides available for you. Just email me. It's posted right there, david@dmeltzer.com. By the end of this training, we will own the first 10 seconds, leading with powerful questions and suggestions instead of force, speaking concisely in the frameworks, blending data with stories and lessons, reading the room like a quarterback reads a defense. And we will close with absolute clarity and harmony, articulating a value to exceed what we're asking for at all times. We are here to create an extraordinary outcome for everyone. Clearer decisions, faster execution, and more trust. In a time when we are in a trust crisis with social siloing and fake news and separation for no other reason than ignorant arrogance. Our standard is simple: presence over performance, service over superiority, action over anxiety. These are the rules of the power of presence. The first lesson in the power of presence is to lead with that intention. Lead with the understanding of what I'm going to do, say, think, feel, and believe. Do not leave with an agenda, with the outcomes in mind, attaching them to I'll be happy one or I'll control you if. So many people are so worried about what's the matter with you instead of what matters to you. I'm going to repeat that. So many people are so worried about what's the matter with you instead of what matters to you. Intention, what we do, say, think, feel, and believe, these 5 levels of intention align people around the value and the articulation of that value. So many people have rigid agendas that trigger resistance and interference and create these ego-based interferences, these battles, which create a war. We open a meeting by declaring our intention as well as our intention. For example, our goal is for everyone to leave here with clarity and confidence, harmonizing the day with the infinite days ahead, instead of forcing PowerPoint slides one by one. Remember, we're looking for, in the power of presence, we're looking for alignment before advancement. 80% of your time should be spent aligning, then taking action, and in the course preparing for adjustment. We utilize that AAA strategy of alignment, action, and adjustment, which I'm happy to send to everyone from the training today, david@dmeltzer.com, if you'd like that lesson, exercise, and guide. When we set the AAA strategy, we set the room's frequency first, and then the execution of that frequency will accelerate, it will aggregate, and it will compound exponentially. We want to make sure we're students of our calendar and that we're opening every item, planned, unplanned, paid for, unpaid for, negotiable, non-negotiable, the scheduled time and non-time. We want to make sure that we're opening each of these items with feeling value to make sure there's aligned in the divine direction. And we're giving meaning aligned with that direction as well to make sure that we're collaborating the detours in its divinity as well. Make sure you say it and think it and believe it out loud if necessary from the very start. There's a power in this presence. Reconnect to it. Make sure that during the expansion of the skills, the knowledge, and the desire, the capabilities aligning with the divine, that our meaning is aligned as well, and making sure that these adjustments are there in that divine direction when our opportunity closes. We must lead with intention, not with an agenda to utilize the power of presence. The second lesson in the power of presence is we need to win the first 10 seconds. When we're going to own this presence, when we are in a neighborhood, in a frequency, in a room, The room's attuned to our frequency, our nervous system. When we are capable and able of regulating our nervous system, our frequency, we regulate the room. It's like temperature. It has an equilibrium. An ability to warm a room or cool a room is the same capability that we have with our nervous system to utilize frequency to regulate and accommodate a room in its presence and the power of that presence. We enter grounded, making inclusive eye contact while smiling, utilizing the space between the words, the pauses, and the silence for at least 2 seconds before we speak. We need to win the first 10 seconds in this frequency neighborhood in presence. Presence will always precede persuasion. It's the energy that we bring to the room that we are capable and able of creating in order to facilitate, to make easy the transition of not only the logic, but the emotional connection. We can practice the first 10 seconds. We can practice doorway to first words in a choreography, just as if we were on Broadway. We can use a slow breathing pattern, one big inhale before we speak, regulating and checking the frequency of the room, allowing ourselves to hold the space with that frequency, with the power of presence. We start with a service forward micro introduction to set the table, to set the room, to level the room at its frequency of giving and receiving, of being given and asking for more, living in the infinite, abundant, unified system of thought in which this presence exists, so that we can utilize that presence and that unity in order to facilitate a greater good, a higher service, a higher value, and be able to articulate it. But in order to do so, like anywhere else, you got to get up, you got to get started, and you got to start in the right trajectory, because you need to own, you need to win the first 10 seconds. Attune the room with your power of presence. The third lesson in the power of presence is you need to ask to lead. Great questions transfer control without force, and they surface shared, stable data definitions of success. Here I utilize a 9-box system, an open-minded, open-ended question system in order to utilize the power of the presence, to understand the value that needs to be articulated, and to see how we could be of service or value, to ask to lead. We need to, one, make sure that everyone is attuned to our frequency. They have an open mind, and we look for eye contact and smiling. But we also can ask questions or have a little bit of fun and make fun of somebody and see if they have a need to be offended, or they're open-minded and they laugh at some joke about a shared experience or an item that they're wearing. There's so many different ways to find an open mind. Remember, a closed mind takes 1,000 times the energy minimum to share as an open mind does. So we needed great questions to transfer this control without force about what people like and about what people don't like, about what is working and about what's not working, about what they know and what they don't know about a subject, a topic, or an expertise in which you would love to communicate or share value and vision with. These great questions will lead us to the great control that exists in two realms. Would it help you if is complete control with no force? And do you know anyone that can help me, which is complete control with no force? As we ask ourselves, what does an extraordinary outcome look like for everyone here? We need to utilize the frequency and attune the neighborhood to the open-ended, open-minded questions of what they like, don't like, what's working, doesn't work, what they know and what they don't know, a quarter subject matter, topic, and expertise, in order to facilitate would it help you if, and do you know anyone that can help me? But in order to find these extraordinary, abundant, infinite opportunities, it's not necessarily the questions and the suggestions in which we take and transfer control with, but it is listening. Our ability to be active listeners, not interrupters where we interrupt people, not waiters where we pretend like we're listening and we're just waiting to interrupt or to tell them what we think, but true active listening. Active listening is the highest form of influence. The definition of being a leader is to be an intelligent follower. And in order to be an intelligent follower, you need to be an active listener to find out where people are at today, meet them there, find out what they know, they don't know, what's working, what's not working, what they like and don't like, and be able to facilitate an adjustment by asking, would it help you if, or do you know someone that can help me? Remember, clarity, confidence, collaboration is co-created, not demanded. It's commanded. It's co-created. It's not imposed. When we are prepared to ask outcome questions with suggestions or questions and suggestions to understand the timing and the risk tolerance, when we are able and capable of lining and reflecting and collecting and remembering and reflecting back to that remembrance of what we hear to confirm the alignment when we are asking to lead, when we can confirm, I hear you. What I hear is this. In summary, you're suggesting we do this. This alignment creates more action, creates more adjustment. We want to make sure that we're capturing through a go, no-go plan, the agreed definitions and action items of a win visibly. If you're not using a go, no-go plan in order to manage and to develop a vision after you have a shared vision, after you have an agreement, oral, verbal, written, implied, or even with consideration with payment, you're not going to win. Statistically, you will waste your time chasing people who want to say no, that time, emotion, and value has changed. Give yourself the advantage of a go, no-go plan. If you haven't gotten a go, no-go plan, please reach out to me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll send the AAA strategy, the go, no-go plan, all with the exercises, guides, and my books of this training, The Power of Presence. Ask the lead, and you will exist with a power far beyond which you could imagine, the power of presence. Lesson 4, breathe, then be brief. Have you ever met anyone where you ask them the time and they give you the history of the clock? Make a suggestion for them to breathe. Make a suggestion that they be brief, concise, articulating the value of what you like, don't like, works, doesn't work, knows, doesn't know, in alignment with the subject matter, topic, or expertise to help you accelerate, aggregate, and compound your divine direction. Breathing is the most essential of all tools. It's what we have to do the most. It's the shortest amount. You could stop eating and live for a while, drinking, live for a while, sleeping, live for a while, moving, live for a while, but you stop breathing, it's a very short while. You'll be brief if you stop breathing. Slow breath slows time because it slows the mind. It slows perception. It allows concise frameworks to make ideas memorable and actionable, two of the most powerful activities, inertia, to accelerate, aggregate, and compound the outcomes exponentially. We want to make sure that we are memorable and actionable. We handle these tough questions not with an immediate response, but with a breath, allowing us to determine, is this interfering with or aligned with my divine direction? And allowing us, if it's interfering, to stop, to breathe fuller, to drop, and to roll into the divine. This 3-point framework allows us to get clarity, to harmony, and focus intentionally in the power of the present instead of drifting, instead of rambling, instead of accelerating in the wrong trajectory, in the wrong direction. Utilize the breathe and then be brief methodology in order to facilitate where we want to be or better. The less we say, the more our words will matter. If you study the 81 verses of the Tao, if you study Dr. Wayne Dyer's Change Your Life, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, you will realize that we are in a trust crisis. But it is the clarity and harmony and focus, the power of the presence that compounds the trust and alleviates us from this crisis of trust. There's multiple ways to breathe. I use the 4-4-4 breath method before responding. 4 breaths in, hold it for 4 seconds, 4 breaths out. You can also package these points into 3s. If anybody would like this as part of the exercise, what is the problem, what is the principle, and what is the play that comes from the problem and the principle? The 3 Ps to package these points to allow us to breathe, but then to be brief. Remember, when your mind and body and soul are on fire, that we stop by breathing, we drop by breathing, and we exhale and we roll by breathing as well. So when the mind, the body, and soul are on fire, you got to stop, breathe, drop, breathe, and roll, breathe into your divine direction, clarifying the actual activity that's aligned most with the divine direction in which we want to be in. These frameworks will help us with the recollection, the remembrance, and the reminders of what we want, who we can help, who can help us, and how to get those done. The 5th lesson in the power of presence is that data plus the story plus the lessons equals durable influence. It is the math, it is the numbers that convince so many minds. But it is the narrative, the story, and the lessons that convert those minds into behaviors. And it's the behaviors that aggregate, accelerate, and compound into the outcomes that we desire or better aligned with the divine direction in which we want. So many people don't utilize that data, story, and lessons in order to create the consistent, persistent influence that aggregates, accelerates, and compounds exponentially. When we pair a team or a client story with a key metric, a quantifiable measurement, to not only anchor in the emotional connection to the logic, but to codify and quantify it, and understanding how we utilize this approach to build a culture based off of those values, practices, and execution model, to tell the story and to teach the lessons and utilize the data, because people buy on emotion for logical reasons. So many times I'm coaching people and the truth is vibrating the fastest, and the story and the lesson aren't aligned with the truth. The story and the lesson aren't aligned with the divine. The story and the lessons that are utilized in order to effectuate where we are, what we want, who we can help, who can help us, and how to get it done. Remember that information is from the logic, right? We have and can inform things into the material and to monetize them. But it is only inspiration and intuition that can transformate, not inform, transform us. Transformation only happens when people feel, think, say, do, and believe the truth, but also can measure it. There needs to be the combination of data, story, lessons in order for there to be this durable influence of the power of the presence. Are you informed or are you transformed? How are you using the data, the lessons, the stories in order to effectuate your information and your transformation? We need to choose these stories carefully. We need to choose the lessons that resonate with ourselves, not just the ones that we strongly agree with when we hear things like, you're either humble or you're about to be, or be more interested than interesting, or be kind to your future self. That resonates with me strongly. Or say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up, and your life will change forever. But it is also the relevant stories that we disagree with. It is both of these types of story that proves our point of our divine direction. But it only works when we pair it with the data. We pair it with a statistic or some sort of data or some lesson that allows us to measure the progress, the performance, the potential, the pursuit. If you can't quantify it, you can't measure it. That's why data is so important in order to get an analysis of our progress, not our perfection that lives in the intimate in which we pursue. We need to land on the one-line takeaways tied to outcomes of perceived value, understanding that these outcomes will change the minute they occur. Whether there's evidence or no evidence, or the evidence is contrary to where we want to be, these outcomes will be tied to the takeaways, to the lessons that come from the stories, and rely on the data to measure those stories, to facilitate the pursuit of our potential. The sixth lesson in the power of the presence is to close with certainty, not anxiety. Worrying is a duplicative negative. It not only interferes with where you want to be or better, but it actually is wishing for what you don't want. The same as other needs or interferences of the response to the reaction to fear, the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, worried. Excessive worrying, it will interfere with the infinite amount of energy, intuition, intelligence, inspiration that we are part and parcel to, that oneness of the infinite, abundant, unified system of thought that we belong to. It will drain by interfering all that exists, and it will be the momentum killer. It is the clarity, the balance, the harmony that creates the motion and the emotion and the confidence and the comfortability that creates the ease that allows us to access and recover more and more and more in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone. Instead of fixating on the outcomes, on our competitors, on the future, we will close with what we agreed upon in a go, no-go plan. What our next steps are in a go, no-go plan. Who the owners are, the power sponsors, and decision makers in our go, no-go plan. And all the dates that coordinate and coincide with these different criteria of a go, no-go plan. One of the other aspects of a go, no-go plan is it allows us to regulate the time, emotion, and value that changes the minute, the instant that we come to an agreement. So that we have no fixation on the outcome, no fixation on our competitors, no fixations on what doesn't exist, what's missing, or we don't have. We simply have a go, no-go plan to help guide us to accelerate the yes or dump the no, to give permission that things have changed, to alter what we have agreed upon, allowing us to close with certainty, not anxiety, to create certainty in the process by knowing what we agreed on, next steps, the owners, power sponsors, and decision makers, and the dates that correspond. And if they don't follow the date, on the third time they don't follow the date, we simply say it's not the right time. When it is, let me know. In this trust crisis, we trust that future solutions, which are called resolutions, because every problem, struggle, pain has a solution already in it. It's just a lapse of time before we find the solution, or what's called the resolution or the resolution, that we trust that these future resolutions will emerge if we have the power of presence to be intentional, and we use that trust to act today, utilizing a guide of a go, no go plan, and don't use it to justify why we're not where we want to be or why the actions did occur. If you'd like the go, no go plan, by the way, david@dmeltzer.com, as well the 3-no rule that coincides with the dates that are on the go, no go plan. We are always closing with these 4 clarifies of knowing the what, the next, the who, and the when. We utilize that in the context of a go, no go plan and the 3-no rule in order to accelerate the yes and dump the no's. No greater waste than chasing someone that's never going to say yes, that's afraid to say no, that's afraid to tell you time, emotion, and values changes, and I change my mind. We need to set these near-term action items of the what, the next, the who, and the when, utilizing a go, no go plan to create winnable goals, to create momentum, to clear the interference between where we want to be and better and what we're doing to react to the interference or the fear of that. We need to utilize the go, no go plan to concisely recap and schedule and quantify the next touch points and the next in order to lead us to the final outcome that we desire or better, giving deference to the time, emotion, and value that instantly changes when we come to an agreement, whether it's oral, written, implied, even with consideration, which is payment. We need to close with certainty, not anxiety. We need to utilize the go, no go plan and the 3-no rule to find out what we agreed on, what our next steps are, who the owner, power sponsor, sponsors, and decision makers are, and give them their appropriate dates in order to effectuate the inevitable time, emotion, and value, which are going to change and stay aligned in the divine direction in which we want to be in, or better. This is the power of the presence. Excessive worrying interferes with the infinite. Energy, intuition, intelligence, inspiration, and it is presence and the power of that presence that creates the motion of emotion, the energy in motion, allowing us to live in the flow, allowing us to live in the flow to go in the divine direction in which we know. We didn't need more time. We needed more clarity, harmony. It is with this harmony comes from how we show up, not when we show up. It is this power of presence that allows us to set the tone, the frequency that sets the outcomes. Our intention today is to command the room when we walk in the first 10 seconds through the clarity, confidence, and compassion, to lead with intention, not an agenda, making sure we have alignment before advancement. We need to win the room, win the neighborhood, win the collective in the first 10 seconds, because it's the room that attunes to the frequency, to the nervous system. And when we regulate ours, we regulate the room. Its presence precedes persuasion. But we need to ask the lead. We need to understand that we can transfer control without force and utilizing a shared stable data of success. Remember, listening, active listening, is the highest form of influence. It is clarity that creates collaboration and co-creation and commandment. It is not imposed. Utilize, don't be an interrupter, don't be a waiter, be an active listener and ask the lead. We got to breathe. Use the 4-4-4, breathe to stop, breathe to drop, and breathe to roll. Make sure you breathe and then be brief. Don't give the history of the clock. The less we say, the more our words will matter. Clarity will compound the trust in the trust crisis. Breathe, then be brief. It is the data plus the story and the lesson that equals the durable influence. Numbers convince mind, narratives convert behavior. Information is the monetization and materialization. Transformation happens when people do, say, think, feel the truth and can measure it. Use the data, the lessons, the stories to reach that durable influence. And then finally, close with certainty, not anxiety. Utilize the go, no, go plan, which I will send you at David@DMeltzer to find out what we agreed on, next steps, who the owners, the sponsors, power sponsors, decision makers are, and give them their rightful dates to figure out the time, emotion, and value as it changes, and stay aligned with those that want to close and those who change their mind. We trust the future solutions will emerge. It's the resolution. It's just a lapse of time. So act today, not justifying it with inaction. We now own intention over agenda to align the room, the first 10 seconds to set the frequency, the power questions to lead by listening, the breathe then to be brief, to make words matter, data and story and lessons to include both logic and emotion, and the discipline to close with certainty, with harmony, so momentum continues in the ease with the go, no go plan. But we commit to trusting that our future resolutions will emerge, and we are using that to trust to act today. Thank you for raising the room with us. Let's measure our success by value created, trust earned, and momentum gained. Because when we raise the room raises the opportunity, the options, and the touches of favor by utilizing the power of presence. This has been the Napoleon Hill Institute Friday weekly training, The Power of Presence. And I'm David Meltzer. If you'd like the exercises, guides, the plans, the AAA, the go, no go plan, the 3-no rule, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'm going to hand over the room to reset it and take some Q&A with the amazing co-host of mine of the fastest growing podcast, the WOM podcast, the Well-Oiled Machine podcast. Come and join us every single week. The Nick of WOM, please reset the room.
Absolutely. And another absolutely phenomenal training today, David, on the power of presence. And as a reminder for everybody that is joining us, not only live here in the Breakfast with Champions, the best room and community and clubhouse, but of course online as we are live on all platforms. Make sure that if you would like the guide or exercise on the power of presence, today's training, or I know David mentioned the AAA strategy, any of those guides or exercises, just email David directly, david@dmeltzer.com. And as we transition now to Q&A for all of our friends that are joining us online, please make sure to put your questions into the chat. And of course, for all of our friends here live in the Breakfast with Champions, the best room and community on Clubhouse, if you are in the audience, please go ahead and use the hand icon to request to join the stage. And of course, we will bring you up. And if you are already on stage and have a question for David today, please just put a quick note in the room chat and I will be happy to pass the mic over your way. Now, with that said, David, for our first question of the day, we have a lot of requests here, both online as well as on Clubhouse, but we're going to start in the Breakfast with Champions on Clubhouse, and we have a good friend, Mr. My Lad, who is patiently waiting for the first question of the day. So, My Lad, it's good to see you, my friend. It's been a little while. We definitely got to get you back in the groove in terms of the Team Meltzer, but what do you got for us today in terms of our first question?
Thank you for welcoming me back, Nick. Missed you guys. Mr. Meltzer, how are you? Hope you guys are all doing well.
Very well. Good to hear your beautiful voice.
Thank you. I love the training. I thought it was awesome. And I actually had a question for you. It had to do with the first segment, but it's when I'm trying to make a good first impression or when I'm like nervous, I start trying to control the outcome instead of showing up as myself, who I really am. And I want to know, how can I leave a strong impression by leading with intention without pushing agenda, but like as a first impression?
Yeah. So first of all, the difference between nervousness and excitement is preparation. They're the exact same frequency. And so the only way that we become prepared is by practicing. And the more we practice, the more prepared we are. The more prepared we are, the more excited we are, and the less nervous we are, because they're the same frequency. And so if we wanted to practice first impression, we would go ahead and rehearse what we're going to do when we walk in the room. And that was part of the training, is that we are practicing our eye contact, our smile, our energy, making sure. I've actually left a room before and seen an adjustment. I remember one time not being prepared for a family function, not rehearsing the triggers that I have. As you know, my lad, our family can trigger us because they know not only where our buttons are, but they installed them. So your mom and dad and siblings, they all know exactly how to trigger you, to push your buttons. And if you're not prepared before Thanksgiving this year, if you haven't rehearsed, then you're going to allow that anxiety and that worry and that stress and that dis-ease to create interference between you and the outcomes that you desire. Or you can rehearse it and practice it and rehearse when they trigger you, when they press the buttons that they installed in you. And so utilizing practice in order to be prepared, to make sure that the frequency that exists when you go to a family function, for example, is one of excitement, not of anxiety or fear, which is the exact same frequency. The only difference is the preparation. And so I remember going to a function. By the way, I will still practice because I'm going to Thanksgiving with my entire family, and I will practice and rehearse to not be triggered, so that I'm at ease and I'm excited to see my family, not nervous and anxious, which just elevates the interference, which elevates the statistical chance that I will be triggered and screw up the whole holiday for myself and my siblings or my parents or whoever else will be there. My parents have passed. But anyway, I'm just talking from past. I've done this without preparation. Well, one year I walked into the room with the wrong energy. And my nephew, who you know, who always looks upon me favorably, looked right past me. And my mom, who was sitting right there, didn't turn around when I walked in the room like normal, no hugs and smiles and excitement from her. And instead of continuing to go into the room to give the wrong first impression energetically, to make sure that the room was attuned to my frequency, I left the room, went outside, breathed, stopped, dropped, and rolled, shifted my energy. And remarkably enough, that little bit of preparation, when I walked back into the room, my nephew jumped up, ran up to me, gave me a huge hug. My mom felt me walk into the room, turned around, smiled. Everything was different. I had taken control of the room. I utilized the power of presence to make sure that I was aligned or attuned with the room and making sure that my frequency was one of excitement, not anxiety, not interference. We need to rehearse, especially when we're putting ourselves in positions with people who have installed our buttons, installed the triggers. And so for all of you that may have some preconceived nervousness about their family Thanksgiving coming up, practice. Get prepared. Change that worry into excitement. Change that anxiety into excitement. This exact same frequency. Practice being triggered. Practice identifying the buttons. And I promise you, you will be at ease and your holiday will be full of fulfillment and joy with the people most relative to you. Stop interfering with what we are given, these great holidays, with those most relative to you. Great question, my lad. I appreciate you. I congratulate you on your success. You are always welcome, invited, and informed to be with us. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on our training.
Thank you so much, Mr. Meltzer. And I am very, very, very happy that I asked this question before the holiday season rolls around. So much appreciated, and I will be around. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. All right, we're rocking and rolling, Nick of Wamness. We're almost to the fourth quarter. I want to congratulate you on a big victory against Kentucky at the Madison Square Garden. You've been filled with some incredible sporting events while I've been traveling around, and I've gotten great joy out of your joy of the Lions and the Sparties. Izzo is still got it. That's all I got to say, man. They were on fire.
For anybody that knows me, just picture the absolute 4-year-old little kid, ear-to-ear grin right now, because you cannot wipe it off my face. I am riding a high, not only on the sports side, but of course with you, as we are on tour and coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio, getting ready for tomorrow at the Aspire Business Tour with Gary Vee, Ed Milet, and so many others. And a reminder for everybody that is joining us online as well as Clubhouse, if anybody wants to join us tomorrow in Columbus, we would love to host you for the day, and I can send you over a ticket to the event. So just reach out to me directly, Nick, NIC.
I'll wait for Nick on there for our Friday training. So sorry, Nick.
Oh, no, I'm good. I was just saying you can also email David.
No, it's okay.
David@dmeltzer.com. All right, you ready for the next question?
All right, we're almost in the fourth quarter here for our Friday training as well. So thank you, Nick, for that. Yes, I'm ready.
Beautiful. All righty, so we are about to get swifty as we have our good friend, Mr. Brian Swift, ready for us here. Brian, why don't you unmute yourself and carry us on with the next question?
Love the advice, especially around the holidays. Dave, I have somebody, my niece was here at another table sitting next to me, and she stopped doing what she was doing when you were talking about the holidays and how to prepare for them. So that message is so universal, and so many people need to practice it. So she sat there listening, and I'm like, this is the kind of wisdom that you need, and we need to continue sharing with others. So loved that conversation.
Thank you, my friend. And it is one that I paid the dummy tax on, and throughout my 57 years of family functions have learned why is it that I feel this way before when I should feel excited. Why do I feel anxious? Because it just never communicated itself effectively that I love my family so much. I love hanging out with my family. I look forward to being there. And then all this anxiety came. And until I started rehearsing and practicing and being realistic about the buttons and the buttons that were installed and the triggers, I just could not shift my frequency from that anxiety to excitement.
No, I get it. And I guess part of my question, or the question is, how do you, what's a good way, or how do you bring others on that journey? Like, how do you reach out to or get in contact, not get in contact, but how do you, I guess, alert a family member that, like, this is what you should be doing, or a friend, maybe it's a business partner that needs to hear exactly the things you say, whether it be in your Napoleon Hill training or your guides. I'm always asking for the guides because I'd like to share that information, and I want to make sure I do it properly. But how do you bring somebody along with you on that journey, whether it be to be present or to prepare for the holidays?
So number one, we have to know that we can't change anybody. So that's why we look inside of us to change what's outside of us. But what we can do is that we can ask questions and make suggestions. That's different than telling people. So we can ask questions like, do you ever feel anxious before Thanksgiving? When I feel anxious, I realize that anxiety and excitement were the exact same frequency. And it was really just my lack of preparation for this extraordinary, exciting opportunity to be with the family, knowing that a lot of times when I give the wrong meaning to the past, that I'm not prepared, and I allow my meaning of the past and other people's meaning of the past to trigger me, especially with my family members, because they know how to trust they know how to push my buttons. In fact, I believe they've installed those buttons, so they really know how to do it. You know, have you ever done any preparation before an event or a meeting or a family function to make sure that you're utilizing the frequency as it was meant to be, meaning exciting, not anxiety or interfering with what you actually desire? And so questions and suggestions are how we get alignment with the expectation that I cannot change anybody else, and I can't find outside of me what I'm not seeking inside of me.
Absolutely love it. It's wonderful. And it's that frequency and that energy is so true, because years ago when we were training a service dog, they had told my wife, "You're so nervous, the dog could feel it through the leash."
Right.
And it's showing in this tight leash. Until the dog has a loose leash, it doesn't feel your anxiety over training it. And it is amazing how that energy does travel into a room, down the leash, and whatnot. So it all resonates. Thank you.
I will tell you, that's probably one of the best lessons of having 4 children is I was so anxious, you know, holding Marissa, my oldest, and had a really difficult time calming her down because, right, I was nervous and frustrated and all the things of a new dad. You know, by the time Miles was there, my 4th child, you know, so many years later, you know, I had no anxiety when I held him. You know, if he was crying, I didn't let it upset me. I was at ease, and that's why he was at ease. And, you know, the same as a dog leash, you know, you attune the room, right? That's the first lesson. You attune the room, and it's your nervous system, it's your energy, your frequency that attunes the room, and you can prepare that as well. So great for those enlightening questions and suggestions. Brian, you are an extraordinary member of our community. I appreciate you showing up to our group, and, you know, helping so many people, in the thousands of people in our group that want to help each other. And anybody wants to know the value of being in our group, reach out to Brian. He will tell you the value of our community and the group and why you should join us and what we do. So Brian, I appreciate you and the thousands of others in our network of people that want to help each other and know people that help each other. So thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And I know that you have brought on so many awesome people like Gigi and Nick that I've reached out to. And they are, just so you know, and I do know you know it, but it's good to hear, they are awesome at anything that I have brought to them. And that's what part of what I love about your group. So, and I know there's more people behind that are part of it. So you've assembled quite a cast. I love being a part of it. And please reach out to me if you have any questions that about joining this group. It's amazing.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it so much. All right, Nick Awam, well notated and accommodated and appreciated. Please, we got about 9 minutes in this party on our Friday training with Napoleon Hill Institute in a conjunction of over 28 years of training every single week without missing a week. Speaking about without missing a week, how many weeks have we done the Well-Oiled Machine podcast?
We have done 25 consecutive weeks, and ladies and gentlemen, do we have a blessing for you, as we are going to be coming to you live either tomorrow or Friday with episode number 26. So stay tuned, because this episode is definitely rich in miracles and lessons, as we have had one hell of a month over the last 5 to 7 days. So ladies and gents, make sure to tune into the Well-Oiled Machine podcast, episode number 26. And of course, we appreciate everybody who has been tuning in, as it is David's fastest growing podcast as of right now. And it's such a pleasure and an honor to share that with you, David. And as we continue through the last 8 minutes here, I want to go ahead and pass it over. We have a gentleman, his username is Sweet Nest here, and he has been patiently waiting on stage. So go ahead and mute yourself, my friend, and keep us rolling with the next question.
Well, let me go ahead and breathe for a second. And good to be here. Feel good to be back home.
Thank you.
I came across these wonderful ideas of that you are holding down and anchoring for the universe and for all of us here in this room right now. So I thank you. And it's so powerful, the words that you put out and create. And so I didn't really come with a question, although many questions in life get answered just listening to you. And I'm thank you for holding it down. I've been involved with this mindset that really is an anchor to everything. And it's so good to be re-anchored in the anchor often.
I love it.
I love the 26 weeks, and I look forward to the next 26 weeks and 26 years because and it's just a continuation. So I appreciate you, though, because you hold it in place. And if it's not held in place, then it's not stable enough for people to hold on to.
That's a good point. Yeah, the foundational values of consistent behaviors. And I know human nature is adverse to consistent behaviors. It's also adverse to the truth. And that's why great teachers, mentors, coaches need to be repetitive. They need to be honest, which makes them annoying. This makes great parents. Repetitive and honest parents are great parents, but they're definitely annoying parents because human nature does not like repetitive. They think they get it on the first try. And when you talk about being anchored in the anchor, it's driven by humility that I don't know what I don't know, even though I've heard it before, even though I've read it before, even though I've thought it before. It takes multiple repetition, practice, and intention of doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing. In other words, it takes the power of being present again and again. Over 28 years of training every single week, 26 coming up for my young Nick of Wam, our fastest growing podcast, the Well-Oiled Machine podcast. But I would suggest that we take Sweet's advice and anchor ourselves in an anchor, something that's been there steady. Anchor yourself in something that, not a 19-year-old life coach. Anchor yourself into something that's been there for 100 years, like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, The Laws of Success. Anchor yourself into a Bible. Anchor yourself into history, into Einstein or Shakespeare or Kierkegaard or whoever it may be that's aligned with your divine direction, which is notated and aware of what's resonating to you. But my takeaway, Sweet, from your comments is the idea of, yes, anchor into what's anchored. Because if you anchor into something that's not, what good is the anchor? And I appreciate the motivation and inspiration for me to be that anchor by being consistent and persistent in the pursuit of my potential for over 28 years. And I'll continue to do this week by week, day by day, and be known for the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential, the expression of God through me for others, to allow that to go through them for others as well, in our mission to make a lot of money for everyone, to help a lot of people with that money, and to have a lot of fun. Notating that I've never met anybody that makes a lot of money, helps a lot of people, and has a lot of fun that isn't happy. So join me on my mission, everyone, of being happy. Nick of Wam, we got time for one more party person in the place to be. Make sure they get my exercise. Yes, sir.
Just because I do want to get my hands again on, I think it was a 13 principle book that the foundation put out when I was involved with coffee company, and they were teamed up together. And I got my hands on a rare book. It was rare to me. And you guys have it there at the foundation, and it's like a beautiful sketch of the principles.
Yeah, we'll send out the principles to you. Absolutely. Just email me, david@dmeltzer.com, and I'll be happy to send you not only that, but the guides and exercises from today, and Connected to Goodness, and a whole care package of energy for you.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate your intention. It's evident. I thank you so much.
Thank you. David@dmeltzer.com. Anybody that also would like anything, please reach out to me. We still got time for one quick one, Nick.
Absolutely. I'm going to send it over to Mike, who's been patiently waiting. Mike, what do you got for us to close out today's stream?
Beautiful. How are we doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic would be an understatement, as someone used to say. Dave, I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier as well, but I just want to kind of touch base on it because I think it's super, super important. Can you kind of reiterate how you're able to emotionally connect to people at all levels? Because I know that was a key word from you, but I just love your take on this.
Yeah. So first of all, we were talking about frequency, and everybody has their own frequency. And if there's something that's presented that's higher frequency, you can not be aware of it, not be ready for it, and not understand it. And a lot of times we want people to understand or be aware of something, but they're not there yet. They're not ready yet. And so by utilizing the open-minded, open-ended question guide, we can determine the frequency that they're at, and we can meet them there. We can meet them there because the logic side of what they like, don't like, what's working, what's not working, what they know and what they don't know presently can align us to where they are presently, according to subject matter, topic, or expertise. And so in the essence of the frequency, according to the topic or subject matter expertise in which we want to discuss, utilizing questions and suggestions, we can find out where someone is and then elevate them from where they're at their own pace, their own awareness, and their own desire. And when we do that, we are connecting emotionally through a frequency of vibration of awareness. Too many people try to communicate ideas, suggestions, or questions to people that aren't ready for them. They are not aware of them. And therefore, it will create resistance. And everybody knows what you resist persists. So make sure you find out that they have an open mind, and then ask open-ended questions about what they like, don't like, works, doesn't work, knows and doesn't know, according to the subject matter, topic, and expertise, in order to meet people where they're at, and then take them at their own pace in their own divine direction. We can be Sherpas of frequency. We can meet people where they're at. Utilize the open-minded, open question template. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Stay informed, stay invited, 949-298-2905. It is exactly 7 a.m. to the Pacific Coast, or 10 a.m. on the East Coast here on the Friday training. We are rocking and rolling here at the Napoleon Hill Institute. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Nick of Wam, please close out the room on Clubhouse.
Absolutely will.
Thank you, everybody. It's been an incredible training over 28 years. Every single week, we don't miss. We appreciate you, the Napoleon Hill Institute. If you'd like any of the guides, exercises, my books, if you'd like anything that I can do to help, if you'd like to join our group, if you'd like more information of where we're going to be in over 200 cities, if you need anything, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Remember, most importantly, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Hit it, Gigi.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
At the end of the day, man, we've got to condition ourselves to make the right choices and give us the power over the external circumstances instead of the external circumstances having power over us.
And once you do that, you start to figure out, hey, I can do this, and maybe I can do this. And then your self-esteem grows.
The truth is, change can be hard, growth can be scary, but nothing is as hard and scary as being stuck somewhere you don't belong.
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
Growth doesn't come by talking a lot. Growth comes by listening, by learning, by being curious.
You'll upgrade your knowledge, your skills, your habits, and you'll upgrade your beliefs, so that you believe that you can do this.
You will succeed. You just have to believe in yourself and never stop trying.
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields.
The most important thing is really to work on yourself. It all starts and work on your mind.
And I said, if you can get 1% better every day, by the end of the month, you have 33%. Tell me a business you can earn 33% a month. So it's a great investment.
I'm not attached to my career, my notoriety, my financial success. I'm not attached to it. I have no self-worth tied up in Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur. My self-worth is fully and utterly 100% attached to how I treat human beings.
Issue where you save time is that if you really know your why, right, then why are you doing it? Are you doing a career because your parents said that's what success is?
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours